You have not stepped back in time into the days of black and white television, but you are with Safari Live. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our sunrise safari from the northeastern corner of South Africa. As you can see, we have an elephant in black and white, well, because it's still a little bit dark, so we're in infrared mode. Now, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Sebastian, and we are coming to you live, like I said, so you can get hold of us, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or on the YouTube chat should you want to ask any questions, or if you want to just say hello from wherever you're watching. And what a wonderful way to start our day. A big Ellie bull that's causing a bit of a roadblock as we try to head northwards towards the gate, and he seems as though he's just munching away on breakfast. It's not the largest Ellie bull that we've seen out here, but with all the herds that are around, there's quite a number of Ellies that are hanging around behind them. Well, elephant males, that is. And you can see what he's done is he's slowly but surely dismantling a tree, and you'll see we'll cross over from color to black and white every now and then. Because it's still quite dark, the camera is battling to pick up light in color mode, and we don't want to shine bright lights on our elephants, so that's why we've gone into infrared. But he's dismantled a tree, he's left a few branches lying on the road there, and you'll find that he actually hasn't eaten too much of the leaves themselves, and that's because he's not really after the leaves of that particular plant. If it is the plant I think he's feeding on, it's probably one of the bush willows, and at this time of the year they don't really eat the leaves of the bush willows. The bush willow leaves are starting to dry out and become yellow and brown and not very pleasant to eat at all. But there is the cambium layer, and the cambium layer is packed with nutrients. It's what the transport system from the roots up into the leaves, and it means that it's a great place for an elephant to look for food. So they will break branches and they'll feed off them and then just drop them, leaves and all, once they've gotten that cambium layer off. From there, then they mix up the salad and they start to go and get some grass and then varying other tree species as well. But he's an absolute gentleman. He's very relaxed this morning. It doesn't look like he's in must. From what I can see, it's still so dark, it's difficult to know whether he's in must or not. But by the looks of it, he's not really leaking too heavily from his temporal gland or from between his legs. Remember, when they're in must, they'll have a heavy leaking from their penile sheath, and it will smell. Paula, you're wondering about the nighttime vision of elephants. Well, elephant vision is pretty similar to ours, so not great at night. Remember, though, that when you spend time out at night and you actually sit out here, your eyes will adjust and you'll be able to see a little bit better. It's the thing about us is we come from very light environments because we have lights on in rooms, and we step outside, it's completely pitch black for us. But if you spend time out here, you can start to make out shapes and varying other things. So their night vision is not great, but they do have insane hearing and an insane sense of smell, coupled with a vision that is able to just determine shapes and things in the night, so they are able to keep quite safe. Also, when you weigh 5-6 tons and you are the biggest animal out here, there's very few things that are going to give you trouble, so it doesn't really matter if they walk around with fairly limited eyesight at night. They certainly aren't going to be worried too much, particularly males of this size. There's not going to be anything that's really going to go after them other than people, I'm afraid. And luckily in this part of the world, the people don't really go after our Ellie bulls. In fact, we have a very limited poaching here in the Sabi Sands, which is fantastic, because it means our elephants are very relaxed and very chilled, and the population is on the increase. So it's always nice when you have a situation like that, and it's a big thanks must go to our anti-poaching units, who work tirelessly to keep all of these animals in this particular area safe. They're often out all night on foot for days at a time, just to secure the area and make sure that our animals, and well, us as well, get to enjoy the animals that live here. So because he's just stopped to listen. And like I was saying, there are a number of herds around. There was a herd yesterday that was around Twin Dams, another one at Gowrie Dam, and we didn't even check the northern side, so there could have been some around Buffelshoek, and that's what's attracted a lot of these males in. So we've seen a lot of male elephants actually on the fringes of those herds. There was a massive bull here a few days ago. It was on Friday night that we saw a really large male, and then some of the other smaller guys that are also accompanying those bigger bulls and trying to mate with females. There's potentially quite a few females that are coming into estrus if there's a lot of herds, and the herds that have been here have tended to be really large, big herds, and so it means that the likelihood of a female in estrus is quite high, and that will then attract these bulls in. as they try and compete for mating. You can see there, look how he's just brushing the grass up against his front legs. So this time of the year, the tops of the grass is quite dry and devoid of nutrients, and therefore the elephant got to try and see if it can't use the root system instead. So the root system, much like a bark layer of these trees, is housing quite a bit of nutrients, and so better than eating the top parts of the grass that is dry and has been leached of its moisture and nutrients, they go after the root system that is still holding on to the last bit that the grass has to stay alive and last the winter before the summer months come. So that's why he's eating those. So Lauren, you're wondering about when elephants get their first teeth. Well, within the first few months they will have teeth already, so the teeth start pushing forward as they start getting up to about 3 months old. They'll start to just see them coming through. Remember that with elephants they have 6 sets of teeth, and it's almost like a train track. So they start at the back, and as the teeth grow they push forward into the mouth, and they then use, and slowly but surely are worn, and the next set then comes through. So already at about 3 months they're starting to come through. They don't really need their teeth much for that first 3 months because, well, they're suckling off mom's milk, and they'll continue to suckle for 2 years. But from about 3 months old they're starting to use the trunk a little bit, and they're starting to maybe shove some food in their mouth. You'll see them trying to bite on grass and trees, and so it just helps to have small little teeth to start. And it's interesting because their first teeth are tiny little things. They're very, very small. They almost look like little pebbles that are inside the mouth. And then as they grow and they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger to the size of a male like this, their teeth become almost the length of my forearm and are big crushing plates that they have inside there, and they'll be able to then destroy vegetation like what they're seeing now into small, well, they cut it up into little clumps basically, and they swallow it, and then the stomach does the rest. So it is from about 3 months that you start to see the little teeth, but they're really only actually relying on their teeth heavily from about 2 years old, because prior to that they'll still mostly drink milk, and then they'll start to substitute their diet, and once they reach 2 they really are able to eat pretty much only solid food, and very little milk will be coming their way, so the teeth have to be well developed by then. But this guy is super chilled. I might just try and see if we can't just edge a little bit closer. I want to see what tree he's been feeding off and see if it is a bush willow indeed. And he is just ambled slightly off the road now. Just now he was still on the road a little bit, so I didn't want to come too close to him while he was there. He certainly looks like he's a very chilled individual. He's not showing any aggressive signs towards us while we've been sitting here talking to him. So it's very cool. And look at that, you can see the dawn colors in the background as well. There's little pink hues just above his head there. And the sun hasn't quite risen yet. It's still probably, I would say, about another 15 minutes or so until we'll get a sunrise. And so there's these dawn colors on the opposite side of the sunrise in the western side. Yes, good morning. Having a little look and a little scratch of the ear. It's always important when you've got an ear itch to use the trunk and make sure that you get rid of it. The thing about elephants is because they walk through all kinds of bushes and spray dust on them and all kinds of things, they actually have ears that are quite hairy, and that means that sometimes it causes a little bit of a tickle and an itch, and you'll find that then the trunk goes in just to try and alleviate that. But you can also see quite clearly from that shot, thank you Sebastian, that their ears are not behind, so the actual entrance to the ear is in front there. So there it is, that's where the sound goes in. You can see it's a small little entrance towards where the ear canal, but what they do have is a massive ear itself that flips forward and it acts like a satellite dish, and it will channel that sound into that small opening, and they can then analyze the sound itself. And the reason why they need it small like that and it's not very big is because they need to be able to, like I say, keep dust out of the ear, and to keep water and varying other things that they throw around their face out, and to make sure that the ears are in good condition. Right, now we are down here in the northeastern corner of South Africa, but my friend Scott Dyson is all the way up in East Africa, and I wonder how he's been through the night. I think he was out last night following the 5 cheetah brothers. It'll be interesting to see what they were up to last night and have a good catch up with Scott.
Hello everyone, and it is a great pleasure to welcome you to the expansive rolling plains of the Masai Mara. Isn't that a beautiful scene? My name is Scott, as Tristan said, and I'm still teamed up with VM. We've spent 2 nights out together, But there's been a little twist in the tale. We decided not to spend last night with the coalition of 5 cheetahs called the Musketeers, due to the fact that they were successful with making a kill late last night, and we figured that their next kill would probably only be in 24 hours time, which didn't kind of work for us. We're going to have to be back on the other side of the river, closer to camp. So we left them and drove around into an area that we haven't spent much time exploring with you. We are kind of midway down the Mara River within the Mara Reserve. So we are on the opposite side of the river to where our camp is, as well as where James will be exploring today. And we're looking forward to getting to know this area a little bit better. We could possibly bump into Scarface, a massive male lion, with some of his ladies. Who knows? There's also 2 sisters, 2 cheetah that have been spending time where we're going to be kind of finishing up the drive. So really looking forward to whatever Mother Nature has in store for us. It was quite a tough decision leaving the Cheetah Brothers. Oh, this is quite pretty. Let's just let these wildebeest continue parading down the catwalk for us. Beautiful. So our camp is on that mountain in the background, but probably about 15 kilometers further to the right, where VM's pointing the camera now. So a long way from here, and this area that we're going to be heading into is kind of an area called Paradise Plains, and as the visuals you are getting suggests, it is quite a paradise. Interesting, these wildebeest are kind of heading southeast, away from the river. There has been quite a lot of river crossings dotted all along the Mara River, mainly further north within the reserve, but who knows, maybe we'll get lucky and be able to get you some visuals of a crossing. We do have 4 river cameras strategically spotted along the river, but maybe we can join forces with those river cams. Of course, the river cams do not have the joy of mobility like we do, and there are many crossing points. Oh, I wonder if that one in the middle's brake lights wasn't working, because the third one almost crashed into it. I should check that out. Only kidding. Oh, hang on. Just spotted 2 vehicles down to our right. So here's VM. What have they got there? It looks like they may just be enjoying topi, zebra, wildebeest. Oh, and some ground hornbills. That explains it. In this very expansive ecosystem, you can rely on just spotting vehicles and then trying to work out what it is that's attracting them. That area over there, sorry VM, is called Rhino Ridge, and sadly there's not too many rhino that live on that ridge anymore. There must have been a stage when they decided it was quite a nice place, hence the name. But just to give you guys an idea of where we are. Magic. So yeah, we actually drove around until we left the boys at about 8ish. They came back to their kill after they got spooked by something, chased the hyena off. For those of you who didn't see that, it was really actually cool to witness. And they got to cash in on their hard-won meal. And then we decided to pull the plug on them. And we just came cruising around looking for anything. We were actually hoping to try and find a serval and invest some time in a serval, which is a small cat. But we haven't showcased its hunting prowess very much just yet. The bigger cats have been getting more airtime, but we didn't have much luck. We didn't find anything really until we decided to drop the flaps to try and keep us warm and go to sleep. And we actually had quite a leisurely morning. We slept in until about 6:30. We're cutting it a little bit fine to be live on time with you guys, but it's been great fun spending all this time out here. We left camp on Monday at 11 o'clock, and we'll probably only be back there at around lunchtime today. So a nice long session out in the bush. Wonderful to be out with VM again. We've spent a lot of time on safari together, mainly at Djuma, where Tristan is showing you guys around today. So good to be teamed up with him again. Very, very marvelous. One thing I will tell you for free is that driving around this place at night is seriously, seriously confusing. I guess, I don't know, maybe, of course, these large open plains with not too much to distinguish, at least in terms of landmarks at night, makes it a bit tricky. During the day, it's one of the easiest ecosystems I've had the joy of getting to know, but at night it is certainly very different, and to be honest, once or twice I found myself driving around in circles. But the longer we spend out here, the better we'll get. Hello to Michael. Glad you're with us and glad you sent through your question. If any of you would also like to say hello, ask questions, it's very easy to do that using the hashtag Safari Live. Now, Michael, you are interested to know if at any point during our, what is planned to be a 10-year soiree in the Mara, you'll get to meet the Marsh Pride. And yes, I guess you may. From what I understand, they've kind of disbanded. They don't spend as much time as they used to in the marsh, where we will be going to today. So I'll be able to show you the marsh, just not the Pride. And there's been a whole bunch of offshoots of that Pride, and I'm told the majority of the Pride is actually further north in the Mara North Conservancy. So it's not a very clear-cut Pride, and what I would also like to say is that there's not as much known about the Prides in this area that everyone makes out to be. This is my opinion, you don't have to take it, please don't say that this is the law, but you know, the bottom line is we have chatted with lion researchers, and one example that really summed things up for me is within my first 2 weeks here, we bumped into a lioness who had a very, very crooked tail somewhere around the Egyptian Goose Pond area. And when we met up with the lion researchers 2 days later, I thought, well, this is going to be an easy one to crack. And I said to them, who's the lioness with the crooked tail? What Pride is she in? And we just got blank stares. So if there's a lioness with such a distinctive, characteristic, slap bang in the center of the triangle that nobody really knows about, means we've got our work cut out for us. So we, I think, and you together, all of us, are going to work out a lot about the lion dynamics and who's who and what's what, and I'm really looking forward to doing that with time. But for now, I think there's quite a lot of guesswork going into which Pride is being called which Pride, and not much concrete evidence. It's not the case with all the Prides, but it certainly is with most, I feel. Brent may have a different opinion, as may James, but that is mine. We just simply are not certain enough, and I've worked in enough wilderness areas to know how confusing it can be for somebody unless you're really scrutinizing your subjects and getting to know them really closely. People may just assume a lion's a lion or a leopard's a leopard, even animals like leopard that are easy to ID. So that's that, Michael. A Pride again. I'm not comfortable of saying exactly who they are just yet, but in theory there's a Pride called the Paradise Pride, which spends time in and around this area we're going to now. Provides a kind of reason for people not knowing exactly what's going on in this ecosystem regarding the lion, is that the lioness tend to have a very, very fluid and abnormally fluid kind of Pride structure. Normally with the Pride, when young lioness are born, they grow up and then stay within that Pride. And a Pride will grow and shrink depending on how many lioness are born and how many of them obviously survive. The males will always move out. That is a set rule. Young males at around 2 to 3 years of age, poof, will be moved out. But here, what they find is that young lioness or even old lioness fragment from their natal prides and create these offshoots. And all these offshoots make it difficult to keep track of. And the fact that an offshoot may... What's the opposite of an off-on? An offshoot and an onshoot is the new... Onshoot is the new word for the day. Basically, as easily as they can split up from one pride, they could rejoin, and that creates a bit of confusion. Whereas in a normal ecosystem regarding lion, and even in the conservancies surrounding the Mara, there tends to be a lot more stability with the prides. And I haven't come up with a theory as to why that is the case yet, but it is something that the researchers pointed out. And again, it's further kind of emphasizes that this, I think the lion researchers gave us some kind of breakdown of lion, and it was like there was 3 different marsh breakaway prides, like breakaway 1, breakaway 2, breakaway 3. So already, I mean, with one pride, you can see how it starts getting a little bit complicated. Oh, the sun is beautiful. There's a very chilly wind blowing this morning, and let's hope when the sun rises down south in South Africa in Djuma, it has the same warming effect on our friend Tristan Dix. Although it sounds like it hasn't been the coldest winter. The Leopard can be bitterly cold during the winter and very, very hot and humid during the summer. Whereas here, because of the altitude and the latitude being very close to the equator, we've got quite stable year-round conditions. There's not a huge difference between winter and summer. Here's an animal that's not very, very numerous in the Mara. So let's spend some time with them. The Coke's hartebeest. Very, very strange looking beasts, I believe. Their body shape, the shape of their face, even their horns is quite a unique structure. But oh, look at that in the morning light. Absolutely beautiful. Yes, you are beautiful. So is the red oatgrass that you have plonked yourself in. And we hope it's very tasty. Nothing like some oats for breakfast. How many of you are having oats for breakfast? We're not having oats for breakfast. I'm not sure what we're going to have. We may have some more. I didn't bring Cocoa Pops. We had a bit of a Cocoa Pop crisis in camp, so I felt bad to take all of them. Cocoa Pops is a kiddie cereal that quite a few of us tend to love. So if you don't know what Cocoa Pops are, they're little round or oval kind of Rice Krispies, chocolate flavored, very tasty. And I think we all owe Stefan's child Blake a big thank you for being in camp, because it's the fact that he's there, I think, that we get to cash in on his Cocoa Pops. But no, Vim, I didn't bring Cocoa Pops nor muesli. I dropped the ball there. Maybe we'll stop in for a camp for a fancy breakfast. But that's unlikely, because then it means we'd be ditching you guys just with Tristan and James. James is also out this morning. Sorry, I forgot to let you guys know. He's just having some problem with his audio. I'm not sure what the problem could be, but I'm sure one of our tech wizards will be able to work something out shortly. If not, I figure James might be fairly good at sign language. It could actually be quite humorous. So maybe that's something to look forward to if the audio issue doesn't get fixed. Ah, beautiful. Ah, well, you'll be glad to know the sun is popping over the horizon in South Africa, so why don't you go and enjoy that?
Great, but I think they must have crossed into Buffelshoek. Well, we've just come up, and unfortunately our Ellie's disappeared into thick bush, but we have the most magnificent view of the rising sun over Djuma, and look at how deep and rich those orange colors are as they come over the horizon, and you can see the sun, how quickly it rises. It is something spectacular to watch as it comes through. And there you go, big marula tree. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a leopard lying in that tree? That certainly would have made for a very, very pretty view. Unfortunately, no leopard that we can see. So we are heading right up towards the gate side, and we're admiring the sunset while we're listening out, because last night, just as we finished drive and drive wrapped, we had the Nkuluma Pride crossing into Tella from Simambili side, so I'm just heading up that way to try and see if there isn't any sign of their footprints coming out. So far nothing that we can see. There's nothing coming down the axis, which is probably not the most encouraging sign, because with this Pride, if they normally cross over, if they don't turn southwards, it means they've crossed into Buffelshoek past Sydney's Dam that way. But we'll just check and make 100% sure. It certainly is a bit difficult to get anywhere when you have a view like that. It's always good just to stop and appreciate it as it does rise. You can see a bit of heat haze around the sun as well. A couple birds flying past. Very pretty. There we go. There's the heat haze that we're talking about. It's now also a really good time to be stationary and have the car off, because you'll find that as at sunrise, sometimes the last sort of vocalizings of varying individuals happen. So lions or leopard, and this is the time that you then hear them as that sun comes up, and it's the last time you'll hear them really for the morning, unless something disturbs them. But otherwise, that's their last sort of territorial calls are now. So it's good just to be off and listening in case you pick up something. But there we go. Officially, our sun has risen. It is clearing the horizon now. Beautiful. Now you can hear the odd bird calls as well. So there's a crested barbet that's making a noise. I can't see where our crested barbet is. It's somewhere in this general vicinity. Trying to scan all these trees. The marula trees are lacking leaves now, so you should be able to see them fairly clearly, but I don't see where it is. It's a little bit early for the birds. You'll find a lot of them will now only just be waking up and starting to move around. Joe, you're wondering when it's going to start greening up and not looking so bleak as it does now and wintry. Joe, that all depends on the rains. So as soon as we get our first rains, combined with a bit of warmth, we're going to find that we're going to get a really nice greening up of the bush. So that normally happens around October, September, October, depending on when the rains arrive, but sometimes can be as late as November when it happened. I remember last year the rains came quite late, and it was only in October that we actually started to really see a change in the bush. Late October, where we had a bit of rain and a little bit of green shoots came up, and we started to then actually see some greenery. Now I was scanning around trying to see if I can find any of these birds, but unfortunately none of them are visible. They're all calling around us, but no sign. I'm going to try and see if I can't just head slightly forward. There's a little game path I want to check here. Now, nothing here on this game path. I wanted to check the one that runs off to the right and see if there wasn't any sign of our lions moving through here. They often do use this particular path to cross. You can see it coming straight up like that and turning up towards Buffelshoek. Now, that big tree is always a prominent tree that you can see from the Buffelshoek side, and both Mvula and the lions often use this. But alas, no tracks here, so it means they must have crossed a little bit further north. So while I go and check up there, let's go back to Scotty and see how his birding is going, since mine is being a fail this morning.
Okay. Apana kitu. Sorry guys, I'll be with you in a second. I'm just trying to get some intel from another guide here. Bado sisi alilala msituni hapa tu. So yeah, bado pata kitu. Aya, asante sana mingi. Safari njema. Sorry guys, but it's very important to be friendly to everyone when you're on safari. So it was a combination of that, and also a combination of trying to gather intelligence. We saw a whole bunch of vehicles swarming around this area that we're heading into now. So I was merely asking what it was that caught their attention. And it sounds like there could be some lions around. She said they do have a kill in the bush. And a kill in the bush is usually not where we like the kills to be. But let's go and see what happens. Like I said, it could be the Paradise Pride, judging by the general area that they're in. Maybe Scar will be around. Some of you, actually, what happened that night? Did I go live? Yes, I did do a Facebook Live one evening. Late one night, we spent some time with Scar and a whole bunch of his ladies and his children, lion children, and they managed to take down a wildebeest while we were watching the cubs. One of the cubs was chasing a frog, and the other, a smaller cub than the one that was chasing the frog, was riding the other cub on the back. It was an incredibly cute scene. But when we drove off, I was on camera with Ferg. We drove around the corner and found the lioness with the kill, and Ferg was not very impressed that we had been filming. Well, it was not that we weren't impressed, it was just a little bit disgruntled that we had been filming a cub chase a frog when the other was chasing a wildebeest. Having said that, it's not every day you get to see a lion cub chasing a frog. We see lioness hunting wildebeest here more often, so just as well it actually happened that way. We are getting... What will be in the long grass? I don't know. Time will tell. Hi. Masts up on that hill over there. But let's just take a moment and scan through these bushes, although I'm not feeling hugely lucky. Maybe Vim will do a better job. Just on this little ridge here, there's a report that some lion... You guys can help us search for them. Looking like quite a tricky spot. Now this, I'm guessing, is the same pride of lion that I was talking about earlier, the cubs who specialize in hunting amphibians. But let's go a little bit forward. Last time I found them, they were just around the side, and I can actually see a vehicle looking back onto this ridge over here. So maybe we'll be able to snipe a view of them. Toodle-doo, have a great safari. Yes, one photo. It will cost 100 Kenya shillings. Have a good safari. 100 Kenya shillings is $1 America, just so that you all know. Very easy for the Americans to come here and enjoy a wonderful safari without a tricky conversion, as it's you a glimpse of this little cub. A lioness headed back up into this rocky outcrop that is covered in thick vegetation. I've just got a glimpse of her. She's walking along to the left. There's cubs of varying sizes within this pride. I think there's almost 3 or 4 litters from, I'm guessing, obviously 3 or 4 lioness. That would be required to get 3 or 4 litters. I can see a few others. Jeez, it's so thick, but you can just see them kind of at 12 o'clock. Oh, well done. You can get a few glimpses. So there's a number of lion here. I'm not too sure exactly where they are planning on going. and I'm worried that if we drive we may lose signal, but we shouldn't, and let's take the gamble quickly, because they are moving along in the same direction that we are now facing, and who knows, they may pop out. Everybody Asubui? Are they? Oh, there's a nice gap, I think. Oh, hello. You've chosen the most wonderful spot to lie down. You're framed by some croton bushes. Those are the ones with the orange leaves. And I'm guessing it's not going to be long before a cub pops in to try and suckle some milk from this beautiful lioness. The lioness is here, and this looks like she is certainly one of them, in great condition. And to be a lion in great condition, you do have to do your pedicures every morning, which you can see she's doing, not taking any shortcuts. Beauty comes with a price. Little cubs, I'm surprised you're not harassing your mother, but I guess nurse them. I would just like to show you one more cub I've spotted him. If you pan across to the left on that same level, where's it gone now? Just a little bit up from that. There's a big rock that zoom out again, and I'll get my finger onto the spots. I think it's, where's my hand? I think it's that. No. I think I need to creep forward a little bit for VM to see. Let me creep forward a meter. It looks like a few on that rock there. You got them there, VM. Oof, it's going to be a tricky visual. Oh well, it seems like we are not managing to pluck these lines. James's audio has been remedied, so you will now be hearing him and his tales and his plans.
Yes, indeed, you'll be hearing, not only hearing, but seeing. Good morning. Hello. I hope you're all very well, filled with joy and a sense of well-being. Are you filled with joy and sense of well-being, Fergus? He's doing this.
You can see me in the shadow.
That means that's what he's doing. Good. Okay, so sorry we were late. We had a few audio troubles today. We've come down to the south of the reserve where we had the Salt Lick Pride last night engaged in the practice of what can only be described as murder. They ate some food, they killed and just left a number of carcasses strewn about this valley over here. We're going to go and see if we can find them, and I'm going to ask Fergus to pan around to this side, and you can see a large grouping of wildebeest down there. There they are. And while you look at that, I believe Scott's signal hasn't been so fly, and so we apologize for those signal breakups. He does find a remarkable number of predators in seemingly remarkably poor areas, but that's not his fault at all. So please, we are as live. I know that we're late, but we are as live as Tristan and Scott, so please do talk to us using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Otherwise, you could use the YouTube chat channel to ask us any questions or send us any comments that you might have during the course of today. We're going to head down into that valley now and see what we can find. I'd say it's quite a chilly day today. The wind has been blowing rather coastally, I feel, for the last little while. By that I mean fairly well, without ceasing over the last few days. And I think the temperature's probably sitting at around about 68 degrees Fahrenheit or so around about 18 degrees Celsius. That is all I have to tell you for now. Let us drive down into the valley. Right, good. Okay, yeah, my hat does look ridiculous. I was attempting a ridiculous hat look, and I seem to have succeeded very well. Okay, on we go. Donna, you're wondering about the trees, the lone ones that are dotted around. Well, there's one just up here. This is one of the most common ones. There are two common ones. in this area. One is called Balanites aegyptia, and the other one is called, it's one of the boskia species, it's the shepherd's tree of some sort. This one I think is a Balanites, but we're just going to get underneath it. And I must confess to you that my tree knowledge of this area is poor, on account of the fact that basically we've been trying to follow the migration action and very little has been done in the way of discovering too much about the trees. So if I was to go up onto that hill, for example, and get in amongst those trees, I'd be deeply clueless. Yeah, this is a Balanites tree, or torchwood of some description. Can you still see that without getting the lights in? Not really. Nice with the lights. Beautiful. Sorry about that, everyone. I keep forgetting that we can't really point the camera upwards. But you can see what it does have, very obviously, is this fluted bark. And that fluted bark, remember, is very, very distinctive to the Balanites trees. And the ones that you get at Djuma, the Balanites mogami, they are very fluted as well. Now I'm just going to scan down into the valley here. See if I cannot find the Salt Lick Pride. What I think happens here is that, let's start the day, say, at first light. All of the wildebeest are up on the crests, they're grazing, and then eventually the need for water draws them down into this valley area. The grass is good, the lions are asleep, they spend the day in the valley. And then as night falls, so they move back up out of the valleys, up onto the ridges, but on their coming swiftly behind them, of course, are the lions. And the lions then harass them for the duration of the night. Alright, I believe that Scott has managed to find himself something not cattish right now.
Yes, we have left the lions due to the fact that they are quite well concealed in the bushes, as well as the fact that the signal is not great. And there are so many wonderful specimens roaming around the Mara, just like this Cory bustard. Beautiful. It is one of the largest flying birds in the world. Its cousin, the royal bustard, I am told, is the heaviest. And look at the width of its neck. Quite a beast of a bird. And it's just looking for some snacks. They feed on a mixture of vegetable and animal matter, the Cory bustard. And it's just mincing its way through the Mara. I've actually never seen one of these. Oh, have you found some brekkie there? I wonder what that was. I've actually never seen one of these birds in a tree at night sleeping, so I don't know where they like to sleep or where they like to nest, actually. That I need to actually get to the bottom of. Don't have a clue what their nest looks like, but a very, very interesting bird. You do also get them down in South Africa, in Djuma, but these open plains are far better suited habitat for them. So we see quite a few of them here, as well as the secretary birds, two large birds that can fly but spend the majority of their time walking about in order to find their food. I'm told there's a big male leopard that lurks around in these parts that's quite well habituated, so we will be hoping to show you one of those. I've yet to show you guys a leopard in the Mara, and we certainly haven't been getting as lucky as we could have been. There are leopards here, and a few of them are habituated, but we just haven't been in the right place at the right time, and I guess we have been focusing on the lions and the cheetah. All right, we are going to send you on back to Mr. Henry, and I'm not sure what he actually has in store for you.
Well, we've got the site of one of the kills that we had last night, and there is obviously a hyena that is going to eat a bit of leather for breakfast. I'm not sure how good that is as hangover food, but he's now extracting from a situation, being followed quite closely by a very brave little canid called the black-backed jackal. Here it comes, just hoping for a few scraps. And of course, if that hyena was to get hold of the black-backed jackal, there would be no chance at all, but it's much faster than the hyena. So carrying that off, that looks like a male to me, and I don't think he's taking it back to a den. I think he's taking it away from the vultures. Just trying to be a little bit selfish about his meal. Let me just turn the vehicle slightly. Always amazes me how hyena youngsters are so confiding around us. But the adults just tend to lose their sort of, their comfort around vehicles. There goes the little jackal. Come on, jackal, into the frame. There you are. And then a huge number of vultures there are on the ground as well, just where the kill took place. So I think there was some eating, and we have actually spotted one lion down in the valley there. And so we'll see if we can't catch up with him as well once we've had a look at all the vultures. He's in there somewhere. He was walking along. And I'm sure the rest of the pride must be there somewhere as well. Look at them all huddling in the cold there. Holly, you say, what a cute jackal. Yes, as opposed to an uncute jackal, Holly. I think jackals are very appealing to us. They look very much like our own domestic dogs, and so it's very easy to enjoy them. And they've got such plucky little characters. They've managed to survive amongst some real bully boys of the bush. There's largely a grouping of white-backed vultures. The most common vulture. Two enormous lappet-faced vultures there. Look at the size of that bird. And as we discovered 2 days ago, a wingspan of some 9 feet. 2.8 meters. Look at that heavy, heavy beak. That heavy bill is a unique adaptation that allows the lappet-faced vulture, of course, to open up carcasses that many other vultures wouldn't be able to. There seems to be a decision from some vultures that that carcass is done. It started to get quite nice and warm, and now it seems to have got quite a lot colder. Not sure why the sun's decided to give up. Alright, let's pop down the road there and see if we can't see this male lion and the rest of the pride. MTI, you're clearly a fan of the canid, or the family canidae, the dogs, and you say, are the side-striped jackals bigger than the black-backed? If you were to look at them together, I think you'd say they were pretty much the same size. The side-striped might be slightly thicker set, but I think there are huge regional variations. These jackals look slightly smaller than the ones at home. I don't think there isn't a huge difference, no. Certainly many of the textbooks will tell you they're exactly the same size. I've yet to see a side-striped jackal here. I'm not sure if they actually occur. The other favourite dog around here, of course, is the bat-eared fox, which we see quite a lot at night. Yes, I'm afraid there's an unfortunate wildebeest on the ground there, dead. We're not going to look at that. Now, I believe that Tristan has managed to find himself some light. He started in the dark, which was quite incongruous to me. So let's go and find out what he's going to find in the late winter sunshine.
Now, we have gotten a few gremlin issues, so we had to rush back to camp and try and get that sorted. But luckily it seems as though we're all fixed and we're back up and running and on our way. And we're on our way to a special surprise. So I'm not going to give it away just yet, but we are on our way there. Now, in terms of the other tracks that I was following, I was saying that I was following the Nkuhuma Pride tracks. Unfortunately, the Nkuhuma Pride crossed north into Buffelshoek at Sydney's Dam, as I thought they might do, as well as the tracks for a female leopard, which I would imagine is in Chile. So I'd imagine it's in Chile that's crossed north there. She's been hanging a lot around that area. So she, for those of you who don't know who in Chile is a young female that comes from Insele, the daughter of Salehesh, and they come from the western side of Simambili Elephant Plains area. So that's where she's from. They are somewhat related to the leopards that we see here, in that Karula's mother and Salehesh's mother were sisters. So they are that kind of bloodline, but they've been separated for a while now and haven't really had the same male or fathers. So that makes them slightly different. Now, in Chile's dad is Anderson, so she's a beautiful girl. She's got the most odd tail, so that's why she's called in Chile, because in Chile means tail. And her tail is long and fluffy, and it almost looks like a snow leopard tail. It always looks very cool. So she has that look about her, and I'm hoping that she's going to spend a little bit of time around that northwestern corner. We know that Shadow doesn't quite go up that far, so it means that there is a little bit of a vacancy there. And I'm sure a lot of you are wondering about Shadow. I haven't quite gotten to that area yet. Unfortunately, like I say, we had to come back to camp, so haven't been able to check. But I know that yesterday there was tracks for Shadow the cub and Tingana, and those individuals, well, Tingana was found in the afternoon on Arathusa with a kill. So I wonder if maybe Shadow and Cub weren't in that vicinity as well. I didn't get an update that they were there, but you never know. Maybe they went that area. Now I am starting to just quicken my pace because our surprise is being chased at the moment by the sounds of it. So we're going to try and see if we can't get there quite quickly. But it is a beautiful, beautiful day here in Djuma. I reckon it's going to be very hot. Sorry, little impalas. Excuse me. Beep, beep. Oh, we've caused chaos. Males are chasing each other. There's snorting going on. Sorry, guys. Kyle, you want to know if Tingana's the surprise? Unfortunately not. As I just said, he's on a kill on Arathusa, so we're not going to be heading in that direction. So that's not who the surprise is. And anyone else who wants to hazard a guess, you're welcome to. Hashtag Safari Live, or on the YouTube chat, you can let me know who you think we might be seeing and what the surprise might be. Now, hopefully, the problem is that our surprise is in an area that we may or may not have gremlins. I'm hoping we will not have them, given that we've hopefully fixed the situation. It is, though, a tough call. We might get a few, but we'll hopefully not have them. It will be an interesting test to see if we do. Seb, what do you reckon? Gremlins or no gremlins? No gremlins. I like your positivity. Exactly. You've got to throw the good vibes out into the air when dealing with said gremlins. Now, I'm going to try and see if I can't get to where we're going fairly quickly. And while we do that, let's go back to Scott, who's got a beautiful view of the river.
Well, isn't Tristan being very mysterious, leading you into what sounds like a very exciting scenario? That was a marabou stork perched up on that dead tree. It hasn't started the day yet, clearly. Just enjoying the warm rays of the sun, as am I. Let's take a little meander through the Mara River, see what's going on. We've literally just arrived. I can be sure that we'll spot some hippos, maybe a crocodilian. Beautiful. There's a very, very large raft of hippos over there. Morning, guys. How was your evening out? We saw a lot of hippos when we were driving through this area. Oh, look at the African pied wagtail on the back of the one there. Little black and white bird. Oh, I'm wrong. I took a stab. It was a long shot. But it looks like it's actually a three-banded plover. Oh, hang on a moment. That is not a three-banded plover. It looks like... Oof. This is a tricky one. I'm going to need to get my bird book out for this. Feel free to let us know what you may think this little bird is. Yellow legs. That's a very distinctive characteristic that we'll be using to help ID it. Bex thinks it's very cute. Bex is directing this morning's show, and yes, I agree, it is very cute. But what is it? I think it could be a common sandpiper. And a lot of the sandpipers look quite similar to one another. But what I'm going to do is show you guys in the book. Siberia Zumi, you're on the same page as me with the family of sandpipers. Looks like it's snacking on a few parasites that actually could be living on these hippopotamuses, because it looks like it's trying to pull it off. I wonder what that was. Wouldn't it be so wonderful to have birds come in and just pamper you, get rid of all your problems? Well, not all of your problems, but at least a portion of them. Let me show you guys in the book. So I think it's this individual at the top here. That kind of collar coming down was quite distinctive, as well as the yellowy green legs. There's a whole bunch of different sandpipers on this page. You'll see there's a whole bunch, and then it goes on and on and on. Now we've got to a few different types. But yeah, so quite a few different types of sandpipers. Oh, let's see if we can see these hippos doing its thing here, VM. I think it's about to do a poop paddle. The one in the front. They do the most bizarre thing when they have a poop. They use their tail like a fan, and their dung goes flying everywhere. It's quite a spectacle to behold. And at the level that it is in the water, we would have not only had its poo getting flung everywhere, but also a spray of water. It would have been quite spectacular. Okay, it looks like it's heading towards the rest of the pod, and Francis is just wondering why they all huddle together. And it's a good question. You'll probably find that it's an area of the river that's a nice height for them to stand or lie in and have their heads out the water. And by being together, they are all creating pillows for one another. So it's a combination of searching for the right depth, because they do not float, and as well as being able to use one another as pillows. Now, as these two approach, you can see they're approaching quite slowly. Now, like all animals, they all have their kind of friends, families, connections, and also their enemies. And you may find that this pod is looked after by one big dominant male, and others who may not be as dominant or friends with this bunch may not be tolerated into their little aquatic cuddle puddle. Interesting. Well, we are sending you from these hippopotamus into the Sabi sands to an unknown sighting from a very mysterious man, Mr. Tristan Dix.
Well, we've gotten to our area, and you might see that there are a few spots, and there is our surprise little Thamba sitting behind the long grass. And I was saying earlier he was being chased, and he was being chased by hyenas, so he was lying somewhere else, and the hyenas came in and chased him. Now, no sign of Thandi as yet. There are tracks for her around, but nobody's seen her just yet, so hopefully they will come out. And Thamba seems to be having this habit of hiding behind grass when it with us. Every time I find him, he's behind some sort of bush or grass or something like that. But it looks like he will come out, and hopefully he's going to come out right in front of us and come lie on the nice sand in the Mulawati itself. So there he comes, slowly but surely. Come, buddy. This has still got to be one of the most beautiful cats. Look at him. Isn't that magnificent? Now he's just crossing between the cars. Unfortunately, there's quite a few photographers, so you might hear a lot of clicking on the other side. That's them taking photos of our beautiful boy as he sneaks around, and looks like he's going to go up. Oh, he's a bit wary of these cameras that are going crazy. Now hopefully he's going to decide to lie somewhere there. It's at least a nice bank that he could potentially lie on, although I think in all likelihood he's going to head up towards Twin Dams by the looks of it. Or no, maybe he's going to sit down there. He certainly is an adventurous cat. You find he moves around quite a bit. Even when Thandi leaves him on his own, it's not like he sits still. He moves around and checks things out and goes up and down, and I suppose he's exploring all of these areas. You know, he didn't grow up in this section. He was born a lot further south of us, and so I suppose it's all just about exploring and seeing what's going on and checking these new area. And I believe a lot of you are super excited that it is Thamba. It is really cool to see him. He's such a, like I say, such a beautiful cat, and this young, youthful exuberance is still present, so he moves around quite a bit, and he's quite an entertaining character to follow. So I'm also super excited, and any day spent with Thamba is a good day. Now, I wonder if Thandi isn't somewhere around here. We know that she came to drink at Twin Dams last night. She then went straight back to fetch him and then came straight back here. So I maybe think there might have been a carcass somewhere here, and unfortunately, there we go. You see, there was a carcass here somewhere. Now, unfortunately, I think the hyenas might have stolen it, and that's all that's left. But there must have been a carcass in this area, because that is the stomach content of something. I wonder where Thandi is. Maybe she's dragged it further afield. I'm going to try and see if we can't get up onto the top there, since he is standing up there, and we're going to try and get round. Hopefully he doesn't do what his mother did last night to us, because as I went round into the Mulawati, his mother just disappeared and it was impossible to find her again. And the pace at which she moves really is quite something when she's on a mission. I said just be careful, there's a few little holes here that we might fall into if we're reversing. Now, when reversing in these riverbed systems, the best thing is just to let the tracks guide you. Laura Moore, you're wondering if Thamba has the beginnings of a dewlap. Now apparently he's come back down with Mulawati. No, not really. I mean, there's a thickening of the neck. There is a thickening of that area just because he's bulking up and he's becoming a bigger male, but actually there's no real dewlap just yet. It'll be interesting though to see how his dewlap works and whether or not he does get a really big dewlap like Tingana. So I think everybody was going around until our little boy jumped up into the tree. Now, I wonder if we're actually going to be able to see anything from down here. It's going to be interesting, that's for sure. Where are you, little guy? Oh, there he is. So he's sitting on the lowest branch. Now, I can't see a carcass anywhere inside here. There's obviously that stomach content that we saw, and I wonder if those hyenas didn't just steal something from these leopards this morning, and maybe that's where Thandi's gone, is she went to try and protect the kill and unfortunately lost it and has now moved off. Maybe she's gone towards Twin Dams for a drink and she'll come back just now. There you go, you can sitting in the tree. Maybe there is another hyena on top, because he's looking intently down, and the only reason he would have gone up there is if he thought there was a threat or if there was food potentially in that area that he could go and get. So you see, he keeps looking up into the tree. There we go. You see, he's looking, trying to see if there isn't any sign. Madison, you say Thamba is the most photogenic cat in the bush. Well, I'd have to agree with you, Madison. He is absolutely beautiful. He's got this clean little face. There's no scarring yet. So he is as good as it gets, that's for sure. I wonder where he's going to go from there, because it looks like he might go further up into the tree. You see, he keeps looking around and staring, and he's getting ready. You can see those feet are almost looking as though they're going to pounce. Or are you going to come down again? See, sniffing around, looking, and look at those eyes. He's got these beautiful green eyes. There we go. Are you going to settle down there? I wonder. I'm trying to scan this jackalberry as much as possible to see if there isn't anything, but I don't see any sign of a carcass. Like I say, I'm pretty sure whatever was here has either been moved and put somewhere else, or unfortunately has been stolen. And it would explain the presence of the hyenas in this area. And coming back down again. He's quite a character, this little boy. He's all over the show. Oh, are you going to head away, or are you going to come back down? Look, you see, he's looking in all the trees. I think he knows that there was a carcass somewhere here, but he's trying to find it. He's trying to sniff around. You can see sniffing a branch now. I don't think he's going to have much luck, though. I think that carcass is long gone. Also, maybe Mom's scent mark there, or another individual scent mark. You can see how he's smelling along. Beautiful. In the morning light, every now and then you'll see he goes through that dappled light. Come on, Rusty. So Rusty doesn't want to go into reverse. There we go. Michael, you're wondering how big Thamba is in comparison to Hosanna. Well, Michael, it's difficult to say, because whenever you see them on their own, they both appear to be quite large, but at the end of the day, I think Thamba must be a similar size to Hosanna. I think Thamba's not that far off the size of Hosanna. His feet are definitely bigger, and his tracks are definitely bigger, but the actual body size, I think, given that there's 6 months in between them, that Hosanna and Thamba are about the same size. Now, are you going to come down for us? There he goes. You can see he's just moving on the edge there. Now, he looks like he might come back down this way. That is beautiful. I don't think he actually knows where he wants to go at this stage. He's just kind of meandering around, hoping for the best, hoping to find maybe Mom or something to eat. Seb, I'm going to go back for you a little bit further. Oh, there he comes. Now, we're going to spend some more time with our beautiful boy as he walks along the banks of the Mulawati. And while we do that, let's go back to James, who I believe has found a different species of cat in the Masai Mara.
We've just been watching this lioness standing up to stalk a whole lot of zebra just that are around here. I'm quite impressed that we've managed to find some signal here, but there's a whole pride in amongst the reeds there. You can see them there. And here are the zebra coming down to drink. There's a male also around here, and they're now watching the lions. And this, I suspect, plays out almost on a daily basis. I think this pride probably hangs out in an area of no more than 24 acres or so, 10 hectares, all around the water. And then during the course of the day, things must come down here. And if they don't nab something to eat during the day, well, then they go off and hunt the herds in the night. There's the male. He, of course, being a male lion, is showing zero interest at all in remaining concealed or actually making an effort to hunt anything. I'll also tell you that we've had a rather interesting time pulling a minibus taxi out from a rock field. For some reason, the driver of the minibus taxi thinks that he is driving a Unimog, which he clearly is not. Buttons, you're looking at these zebras and wondering if we can find all three species of zebra. No, Buttons, we cannot. The Grevy's zebra up north, Samburu region, and the mountain zebra down in Namibia and in the Cape of South Africa. So no mountain zebras. This is the plains zebra, and the same species, different subspecies as the zebra that you'll see at Djuma. Now they're very aware of the lions now, and I'm just going to keep an eye with my binoculars. If I was a betting man, I'd say that these lions would easily have some luck during the course of the day with something less aware than the zebra. And we really thought we were in for something quite interesting there. And I think we may have been if that male hadn't alerted them. You know, the females are very well hidden in amongst the reeds there. And I think if the male hadn't alerted them by his careless, laissez-faire attitude to life, which must irritate the females profoundly, I think then they would have been in business. But really, a male lion is a creature of, obviously they're as useful as they need to be for lions, but good grief, they don't inspire, they're not a sort of, they don't inspire human emotions of respect. We see things.
Hello everyone. Well, it sounds like some very exciting stuff with Mr. Henry. Let's hope that his signal improves, as I'm not sure how much further how far the lioness was away from the zebra, but not an ideal time to be leaving, so apologies on his behalf. I don't know this area too well, but our goal is to try and get down onto the Mara River and then follow it upstream. We usually are on the other side of the river when we are showing you views of this general area, so I'm looking forward to showing you the opposite view, looking back on the Olololo escarpment. We can see where camp is now, way up on the hill over there, probably right there, and looking forward to getting back and seeing our crew. We've become like a little family out here. Well, it's a very little family at the moment because most of the team have been at the coast, riding camels, skydiving, snorkeling, eating delicious seafood. Shark surfing, VM says. There's not many sharks on the Kenyan coast, I don't think. Not nearly as much as down south. They don't have the fearsome great white. But yeah, there's a large portion of our crew that has been enjoying some time down at the coast. They'll be getting back today. Excuse me, a wave of heat has just overcome me, so now you get to see me take off my jacket. Oh! I tried to swing my jacket over my head and I clapped the lights. Clapped means hit in Afrikaans, so if there's any Dutch people watching, you will understand what I was trying to say. I've actually dinged my hand a little bit. Oh, shame. Poor me. There may be some blood trickling out shortly. My earpiece also came out when I pulled off that stunt. Okay, fear not, you are going to be rescued by Tristan now, and you will be with Thamba, who's having a snooze in the grass.
Now look at this cat. He's another story. He's lying on his back, growling at some francolins that are walking past. You can see those long whiskers, and that's how he's watching the francolins. Over his shoulder, instead of just turning his head, he's lying like a complete model pose as he watches the francolins move around behind him. There we go. What are you doing? That's better. You can actually see now. And the francolins are wise. They've seen him and have moved well clear of where he is. They're certainly not going to tangle with the little male leopard. They've decided that it's far better to be on the other side of the riverbed than on his side. And you can see he's still watching them. There's that curiosity that goes with the young adolescent leopard. They watch everything that moves. Unfortunately for him, though, he's been spotted, so there's no chance he's going to get anywhere near those francolins from where he is now. So I think he's just watching them to make sure that they don't make a noise and don't give him too much trouble, although he looks like he might go after them. Douglas, you want to know how many kilograms of meat a male of Thamba's age consumes? Well, I'm not 100% sure. It's difficult because they don't measure these things as they get older, but he would potentially, I would say, in one sitting, is he going to sleep now? Hopefully not, because he's behind a clump of grass, but in one sitting I would say that he would probably be able to manage about, at his size, maybe 10 kilograms of meat, maybe a little bit more. He's not that big just yet. He's not the size of Tingana or Anderson or those guys, so he's not going to be able to eat too much just yet. In fact, he's probably the similar size to what Thandi would be, so 10 to 15 kilograms in one sitting would be quite a bit of meat. So that's almost 30 pounds that he'd be consuming in a single sitting. That's what would be my guess. It'd be difficult to measure exactly, though. Hopefully you can see he's just giving a look to those that are talking above him, which is, there's a vehicle that's on the top there that's watching him, so just watching them every now and then. Paula, you're wondering if there's any parts of a kill that a leopard will not eat. Well, we saw just now that he didn't eat the stomach content, so you'll find that they don't eat too much of the stomach area. Also with a leopard, their jaw power is not as much as that of a lion or as that of a hyena, and so you'll find some bones are too thick for them to go through. So generally leopards will eat all the muscle, they'll eat bits of the skin, they'll eat most of the internal organs except the stomach, because they often just drag the stomach out and leave it. Every now and then you'll see them eat the lining, but it's not that often. And then you'll find that they drop bits of leg. Although the older they get, if you get males like the size of Anderson, he'll crunch down hooves and legs and all kinds of things if it's small enough and it is brittle enough for him to actually break it. So there's not much that they don't eat. They pretty much eat 90% of the carcass. It's just there's a few bones and innards that they battle with and being able to get. Unfortunately, he's lying in just the worst place because I've got a big elephant hole in front of me, so the elephants have been digging for water here, and that hole is not going to be easy to negotiate, so it's right there, and it would be nice because I would have been able to just go around and we wouldn't have had all this grass in his face. But alas, this is where I have to stop because I can't really move any further than that, and I don't want to go on the track itself because I will chase him away if I do that. So we're just going to have to be content for a little bit and watch him behind the grass. I don't think he's going to sleep right there. I'm pretty sure he's going to move around a little bit. He's been up and down all morning. You can see the tail is still wagging a little bit, and he's still very alert. It's not like he's sleepy in any way. Look, you see how he's watching? Now, I don't know what he's seeing. He keeps kind of looking at something, and he was right out in the sand, and all of a sudden he ran behind this bush and lowered his head as though he had seen something. So I don't know if maybe there's a hyena somewhere that's lurking on the top there, because he's looking right where he was earlier. Now, Rebecca, you say Thamba is still a cub at heart. Most definitely. He's still very youthful. At the end of the day, he's only just turned a year old, and we know that Shangila and Hosano, when they were a year old, just before Karula disappeared, they were very playful, and they had to become a lot more serious a lot quicker once Karula disappeared. So now he's still under the protection of Mom, so he is still very much a cub at heart, and you'll often find him running around and playing and up and down, and I would love to see him with Thandi, or just to actually find him when Thandi comes back, because it would be so nice to see what his relation with her would be and how he would move around with her if she arrived back after some absence, because I think he would be super playful and run and greet Mom. I don't think she would be too thrilled to have this big boy jumping on her and basically swatting at her and playing with her. I think she would probably growl and hiss at him because he's getting of that size and age, but I'm sure he will be very playful if Thandi had to arrive back. And I'm trying to look behind us what they could be. I just don't see anything. You're wondering if Thamba hunts by himself yet. Well, I'm not 100% sure, and unfortunately I've never seen him with a kill of his own. I would imagine he does hunt for himself. I imagine he's killed a few francolins and maybe some small lizards and birds and those kind of things, but in terms of bigger animals, no idea. Unfortunately, I haven't seen him hunting anything yet, and we haven't seen him on a carcass by himself with no sign of mom, so difficult to say. It's whether or not he has hunted. I would imagine though that the answer is probably no, he hasn't hunted anything of his own just yet. And why would you want to when you've got a mom who is as successful as Thandi is? When she hunts, she tends to be able to kill quite large animals and regularly. So it seems as though he's well fed. You can see he's not exactly skinny in any way, shape or form, and he's a big boy for his age. So, you know, if you can rely on mom, it doesn't mean that you have to hunt yourself and waste the energy. Christy, you want to know how long leopard cubs stay with their moms? Well, Christy, it depends on mom. Mom can be a little bit on the grumpy side and short-tempered with her children, and she might chase them away a little bit early. So sometimes they get kicked away as early as 10 months, which is very rare, but most of the time it will be anywhere between sort of 14 months and 2 years. That's the average for leopard cubs. You'll find that the boys, though, tend to cling to mom as long as possible. So all the male cubs that I've been following in my time have always tried to stay with mom a little bit longer than what the female cubs have. So I would imagine Thamba's still got a few more months left with Thandi if she tolerates him. We know that she has been mating with Tingana, and it could be a false estrus that she's come into, that she's just trying to secure this newer territory that she's in and make sure that Tingana realizes that she's the female in this area and that Thamba is his son and not to harm her or Thamba, and that's why she's mating extensively with him around the Djuma area. Or it could be that she is starting to come into an estrus cycle, in which case she's going to leave Thamba fairly early. And if she does fall pregnant, remember it's about a 3-month process until she will give birth, which means that Thamba at that stage will be about 14 months anyway, so it falls within the average bracket of being left alone. But I would be surprised if she was in a proper estrus cycle. I think it's more just to do with her moving into a different area and just to try and secure that area for herself and make sure that she's basically looking after her young ones as well as herself, and make sure that those males that are in this area accept that she's now a female that resides within their section and within this section and doesn't become too aggressive towards her. These francolins are providing Thamba with a bit of bush television. Every now and then they squeak at him and he's just watching them and seeing what they're doing. I wonder if those hyenas didn't come back to where he was dragging that bit of innards around, because the way he was looking was straight up that way, and I wouldn't be surprised. Those stomach content often smell quite strongly, and if you're a hyena, you certainly will pick that up quite quickly. But does he not just have the most magnificent eyes? Those big dark markings. Oh, I need to just try and groom ourselves. It's amazing how similar he is to Thandi's first son, Wabayiza. They look very similar, these two. Now, Paddy, you want to know which of the cats show the best hunting skills? Well, I mean, in terms of cheetah, lion, leopard, or in terms of our leopard population we have on Djuma? But we'll address both. It depends on individuals. So some lions better than others, some leopards better than others, some cheetah better than others. We've seen Scott with his 5 cheetah brothers are insanely good at hunting, and their speed and their agility, they really are quite something. Same with some of the lions up in the Mara as well. Here in the Sabi Sands, in terms of our animals, Nkuhuma Pride seems to be absolutely lethal if they find buffalo. At the moment there's not many buffalo around, so their success in hunting is quite low because they're chasing a lot more fleet-footed animals like zebras, wildebeest, impalas, kudu, which are a lot harder to kill than the buffalo. The buffalo tends to be a little bit slower, and it allows the Nkuhumas to actually catch up with it, and then from there they seem as though their technique is really good, because most of the buffalo they hunt, they end up bringing down. So the Nkuhumas are really fantastically good at hunting buffalo. But in terms of our leopard population, funny enough, Hosana seems to have grasped the concept of stalking really well. Most of the times he's either come incredibly close or he's managed to grab something, and I'm talking about lizards and terrapins and birds and those kind of things, and we know that he's caught a few impalas. And one day at Treehouse Dam we didn't even see him, and he was so close to catching an impala. He just came bursting out, and the impalas scattered everywhere, and it was very close indeed. So, you know, he seems to be mastering that concept. But for me, just in terms of the kills that I've seen and the sizes of them and the frequency of them, I think Tandi's got to be one of the best that we have on Djuma, because she's killed all kinds of large animals, waterbuck, kudu, varying other big things, and yet she's also does it frequently. So she seems to be having kills every 3-4 days, which is an amazing feat, sometimes even more than that. I've once had a situation with Thandi that I had her for a week, and we had her on a different kill every day for 7 days, which is quite something. The only other female that I've seen that is as effective and as efficient at hunting is Salahesh. So she's the one in the west. She's an absolute beast when it comes to hunting. I don't know, she just seems to be able to have that knack. Right, we're going to enjoy our little Thamba. He's starting to yawn, so hopefully it'll mean he'll move from behind his little grassy thicket. And while we do that, let's go back to Scotty D in the Masai Mara and see how it's warmed up and where he's off to for the rest of the morning.